so strange, so bizarre, they sound completely made up. Yet every single one is true. You'll never look at America's past the same way again. Let's start with George Washington. You heard he had wooden teeth, right? Wrong. His dentures were actually crafted from ivory, metal, and even real human teeth, all held together with uncomfortable springs. Imagine leading a revolution with that in your mouth. They launched Acoustic Kitty, a project to turn cats into mobile listening devices by implanting microphones in them. The problem? Cats don't exactly take orders. The first feline agent was reportedly run over by a taxi, and the project was scrapped. Speaking of animals, Benjamin Franklin famously hated the choice of the bald eagle as America's national symbol. He argued that the turkey was a more respectable bird. In the late 1800s, one politician won a governor's race without even knowing it. A message about his victory was so delayed that he only found out weeks after the election was over. Talk about a late notification. Some conflicts were over before they even started. A territorial dispute was resolved in under an hour thanks to a naval show of force. No shots fired, no panic, just a quick, "We're here, let's not do this," and it was over. Congress once tried to pass a law blocking immigrants deemed physically unattractive. The vague and offensive language caused so much confusion and outrage that the idea was quickly abandoned. During Prohibition, smugglers got creative. They hid bottles of bootleg whiskey in baby carriages, counting on police to see blankets and pacifiers, not illegal liquor. Tired of long meetings? So was Congress. One politician filibustered for so long that his colleagues finally introduced formal debate limits. Those rules are still used today, all thanks to one man who just wouldn't stop talking. And get this, in 1897, Indiana legislators nearly passed a law to legally redefine the value of pi as 3.2, just to make calculations simpler. Thankfully, a mathematician intervened and shut down the idea. During World War I, a wave of misguided patriotism led to a campaign to stop speaking foreign languages in public. It was seen as a way to promote unity, but it just created suspicion. You didn't find any buyers, but you have to admire the hustle. The U.S. once considered creating a national day to honor toilet paper. The idea sparked a brief, and probably very strange, public debate before it was quietly flushed away. To study the effects of nuclear bombs, the government built an entire fake neighborhood called Survival Town. It was complete with furnished houses and mannequins staged like a normal American family, all waiting for a test blast. In 1945, a military bomber plane crashed into the Empire State Building in thick fog. Miraculously, the building survived with minimal structural damage, a testament to its incredible engineering. For decades, Americans genuinely believed tomatoes were poisonous, calling them poison apples. It took a public demonstration where a man ate a whole basket of them on the steps of a courthouse to prove they were safe. When a would-be assassin tried to shoot President Andrew Jackson, both of his pistols misfired. Jackson, who was 67 at the time, didn't run. He chased the man down and beat him with his cane. In the early 1900s, some scientists seriously believed humans could live on Mars if we just engineer better breathing gear. Reality, of course, proved a little more complicated. A Texas town once held a beauty contest judged solely on women's feet. The contestants' faces were hidden behind a curtain while the judges ranked their toes. And that famous story about Mrs. O'Leary's cell starting the Great Chicago Fire? It's a myth. Historians now believe human negligence was the real cause. The cow was just an easy scapegoat. These stories are just the beginning. The deeper you dig, the weirder it gets. If you enjoyed this trip down the rabbit hole of American history, Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more unbelievable but true stories. Thanks for watching. Did you know that during World War II, the U.S. military had a plan to use bats to start fires in enemy cities? It was called Project X-Ray. The idea was to attach tiny incendiary bombs to thousands of bats, release them over Japanese cities, and let them roost in buildings before the bombs ignited. But the plan literally backfired. During a test, some of the armed bats escaped and set fire to a hangar and a General Sess car at the Carlsbad Army Airfield. The project was eventually scrapped, but it remains one of the wildest ideas in military history. And speaking of bizarre government plans, officials once tried to train seagulls to spot enemy submarines. The theory was that the birds would flock over periscopes, signaling their location, but the seagulls had other priorities. They quickly abandoned their posts in search of food, proving that you can lead a bird to water, but you can't make it a soldier. Politics has always had its strange moments. Back in the day, President Woodrow Wilson campaigned alongside a tobacco-chewing ram named Old Ike. This wasn't a joke. Old Ike became an actual mascot, and crowds loved him. It just goes to show that sometimes a little bit of weirdness can win you votes. But not all political ideas are winners. At one point, Congress actually debated modernizing the national anthem with a new upbeat musical style. Unsurprisingly, the proposal was shot down almost immediately. Sometimes you just don't mess with a classic. Let's talk about some odd laws. Did you know Kentucky lawmakers once passed a bill requiring citizens to bathe at least once a year? It was a genuine attempt to improve public hygiene, which really makes you wonder what was going on back then. And how about this one from Kansas? The state briefly banned bicycles. Can you imagine the outrage? The public outcry was so intense that the rule was quickly repealed. It seems people have always loved their two-wheel freedom. Prohibition created its own set of strange loopholes. While alcohol was illegal, pharmacies were allowed to sell medicinal whiskey. This was a golden opportunity for one company in particular, Walgreens. They exploded from just 20 stores to nearly 400 during Prohibition, all by legally selling spirits for health reasons. But it wasn't just whiskey that people were consuming. In 1835, a newspaper called The Sun published a series of articles claiming that astronomers had discovered life on the moon, including bat-like humanoids and unicorns. This event, known as the Great Moon Hoax, completely fooled the American public. People were captivated, and the newspaper sales went through the roof before the story was finally exposed as a complete fabrication. And here's a story about a famous landmark. We all know the Liberty Bell, but did you know it cracked the very first time it was rung? Instead of recasting it, they just kept the flawed bell, and that iconic crack became its most famous feature. It's a perfect symbol of imperfection. From military bats to medicinal whiskey, American history is filled with strange but true stories. These tales remind us that the past was often weirder, funnier, and more surprising than we could ever imagine. Thanks for watching.